Does anybody know how it was that homesteading became so complicated? Today, we're going to talk about 5 things that great-great-grandma didn't have that you probably don't need either. Listen, I love the fact that we can start seeds and we have all these fancy setups for starting seeds. Got some onions started in here. Oh, there's a little baby. Oh, it's a little baby onion. It's a little early in the year still here in Minnesota to be starting all these seeds. So I haven't started a lot of them yet, but I'm ready for when it's time. Millions of seeds to start. Seeds for me. I hope I don't get a copyright strike on that. The point is this. Great-grandma did not have grow lights. She did not have seed heating mats. She didn't have special rooms to start her seeds in, right? And yet, she grew a lot of food. In the kitchen, I promise you, great-grandma did not have scales or timers or complicated, like scientific, I don't even know what, in order to make a loaf of sourdough bread. No, she didn't. I don't currently have any sourdough bread that I'm working on, but I did dry these strawberries. I dehydrated them. I didn't know what I was doing, but I figured it couldn't be that hard. And look at that. In the barn, Grandma did not have a super complicated coop. She did not have super complicated nesting boxes. Grandma knew those chickens were gonna find a spot to lay because that's what chickens do. If they don't have a spot, they'll find a spot. All the things in the basement. Look at all those empty jars. Come on, what's wrong with you? Y'all, great-grandma, wait, we're saying great-grandma because I don't want to like assume anybody's age here. Great-grandma did not have a basement full of stacks and stacks of rice and various preps, okay? Great-grandma probably had 8 more kids than you in a house a third of the size as the one you're living in now. Also, I don't actually know that. You might actually be living in your great-grandma's house. I'm trying to make a point here. And you might have 8 kids. You might have 10 kids. You might have no kids. I don't know. I'm just trying to make a point here. What great-grandma did have was a lot of creativity and ingenuity and the ability to use what she had or just do without. I actually just did a podcast about that. Check it out. Something else great-grandma did not have that you probably don't need either are the constant updates on everything that is happening everywhere in the world. Great-grandma was so busy with her own life and taking care of her family and taking care of others around her that she didn't know what was happening 100 miles away or across the ocean. Snorri dog. And if she did find out about it, it was in the newspaper or on the radio. And it definitely was not 30 seconds after it happened. Now, here's some disclaimers. I don't know how old you are. I don't know how old your great-grandma would have been or what time period she lived through. I don't know what kind of life you're living. I'm just trying to make a point here. Homesteading became trendy and cool and like some kind of boutique life or something. So then what did we have to do? We had to monetize it and we had to capitalize on its popularity. And at the risk of sounding like a total hypocrite, I mean, I am talking to you on YouTube. I'm all over social media and I started my website, A Farmish Kind of Life, 15 years ago. Somehow the passing on of information of how to do all this stuff that we're trying to do became a whole business in itself. And that grew into something even bigger with even more things. Why is homesteading so complicated now? Clickbait, monetization, and being able to make a product. Is it cool that we have all these improvements and different options today? Absolutely. And I bet that great-grandma would have really loved some of the improvements that we have today. But the fact that people have been doing this for so many years without all the fancy gadgets means that you shouldn't not do it just because you feel like you don't have access to particular fancy gadgets. It means you shouldn't not do it just because you don't feel like you can follow someone's certain rules about how something has to be done now. Great-grandma was doing all this a long time ago without all the fancy stuff and without all the rules. So, I mean, if you have soil and water and seeds, you can probably grow something. Again, I'm not saying that the improvements are bad. In fact, great-grandma might have thought they were pretty cool. I'm also not saying that we shouldn't support homesteaders in what they're trying to do because everybody's just trying to make a buck. I'm just saying that if you don't have access to the fancy gadgets that you think you need to start homesteading, or whatever you want to call this, it doesn't mean you can't do the thing. We're all trying to emulate this homesteading thing that great grandma was doing. And she didn't even have most of the homesteading stuff or rules that we have now. And I think we need to spend a little bit more time thinking a little harder about that. Now we're gonna go down in the basement and film some more stuff. Whoa, you can't even see me now. Okay. Ooh, come down to my basement. It's almost like I was gonna be a musical theater major, right? It's crazy. Whoa.